Hello and welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for September 30th, 2019. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And on today's show, as always, we're going to talk to Coach Dunn about this past weekend's opponent, the Edinboro Fighting Scots. We'll look around the PSAC West, East, and all points in between, look at the schedule, and look at this upcoming week's opponent, the IEP Crimson Hawks. But before we get to all that, Coach, can't believe it's the last day of September already. It seems like we always talk about what date it is, and it keeps going faster and faster, but September 30th, and tomorrow's October 1st.
Week 5. The season is absolutely flying by right now. It feels like like I said last week, I think we just got here. Feels like we just got here a week or two ago, but week 5, and glad to be back for another week.
I tell you what, it's a good thing coaches and teams are creatures of habit because, once you get into that grind, it's probably like, okay, today's Sunday, we look at film, today's Monday, first thing, and then it's an endless cycle up until hopefully December.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. You do the same thing every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday. All the way to Sunday. It's just the life of a coach right now, where you know exactly what you're doing, exactly what time every day of the week.
Well, nobody really wants to hear what we're doing on Sunday through Friday. They want to hear about Saturday. And this past Saturday, using another holiday analogy, it has to be like Christmas morning or a second Christmas morning for coaches and teams because it's the first day of divisional play. So you can pretty much, if you're 0-3, 3-0, or 2-1, or 1-2, those records really don't matter because everything is still ahead of you. In this past week, the first PSAC West game was up at Edinboro. Beautiful. I don't know who you're talking to get these weather days, but beautiful Saturday afternoon and very workmanlike win. Team comes out of there with a couple score win.
Yeah, anytime you can go on the road in the PSAC and get a victory, you're pleased with it. I think we've got some work to do. We've got some improvements to make off the game, but was really happy with the way our guys approached the game. They approached the trip, the things that we're constantly talking about, I think that we're getting better and we're growing at. Now obviously we wish we'd have played a little better in some phases and at some times in all 3 phases. But when you go on the road and get a win, we're not going to apologize for that. We're going to get back to work this afternoon with our guys and continue to try and stack days and have a good day today. That's our goal, is to have great meetings today, and then when we go up on the field this evening to have a great workout, and then we'll worry about tomorrow.
And it always seems that Caillou always brings out the other team really comes out to try and play knockoff Cal with the success we've had. And you can definitely see Edinboro, that was kind of like their Super Bowl on Saturday. And they came out, and good job for your team to weather the storm early and take a lead and then just kind of, extend it and get out of there with a W.
Yeah, I give Edinboro credit. I thought they had a really good defensive plan. They did some things that maybe we hadn't seen on film. We really just couldn't get in a rhythm offensively early in the game. We shot ourselves in the foot a little bit. We got down in the red zone and didn't punch it in, and then had a field goal bounce off the crossbar. We had one drive that was a great drive. We got the ball at the -5 yard line coming out, put, I think, a 14-play drive together and stalled out somewhere around the 40-yard line. But as the game was going on, we could kind of feel that our defense was playing really strong, and I didn't think Edinboro was going to be able to score many points on those guys. So then you kind of, dictate your game plan to that. You stop taking less chances and you start playing a little bit of ball control and we held the ball for over 40 minutes. Now a lot of that's a credit to our defense. They were getting 3 and outs and getting off the field, but anytime you can hold the ball for 40 minutes and the other team has it for 20, you're doing good things. I think we can grow in all 3 phases. We've got to get back to work, but our kids did what we needed to do. Our guys did what we needed to do on the road, and we feel good about it.
I tell you what, you talk about that defense. The defense made a huge back-to-back plays in a position where Edinboro was going to try and get back in the game. Edinboro just hit it for a long game to get inside the 5-yard line. Actually, the 1-yard line, the cannon went off. So I guess they fired the cannons off at 1-yard line plays. But first and goal from the 1, try and go in, and Julian Cox goes over the top with a sunset flip and keeps the quarterback out for Edinboro. And I believe there was the next play that your defense forced an interception. Totally turned the momentum around in that game.
Yeah, so, our defense, our defensive staff talks about defending a blade of grass. We're going to play until we have no more room down there. Julian Cox did go over the top, kind of like Troy Polamalu a couple of years ago on a quarterback sneak, and then they got an illegal procedure penalty, which backed them up to the 6-yard line, and then Noah Dilla had a big interception. So, that's kind of who we want to be defensively. We're going to play every snap as hard as we can, then we're going to line up and play the next one, and that just proves to our guy. That's a great example to our guys that you just battle and compete every snap, and good things will happen.
And I know, Coach, you're not a guy that looks at rankings or stats or everything, but your defense is really shutting the opposing team's rushing down, and that's got to be great to make a team one-dimensional.
Yeah, we got to continue to work and continue to do that. I know, we thought we played really well against the run, but it goes back to the week of work we had. I thought our defensive coaches had a good plan. I thought our defensive guys were locked in all week, and when you do that, then it leads to having a better chance for success on Saturday, and our guys are really buying into that right now.
And on the offensive side, very good job on the offense to grind it out, especially in the last 5 minutes of the game. I think you guys got the ball back with, I think, just under 5 minutes, and Edinboro never got the ball back. So that's just great closing, getting the game into the starting the bus up, whatever analogy you want to use, but just to get the W and get out of there.
Yeah, like I said, I thought Edinboro did a nice job defensively, and you got to give them a lot of credit. Their kids were playing well, and they've lost a couple close games this year. You know, they go on the road and play Grand Valley, who's a top 10 team in the country, and kept that game close for a long time. You know, they lose a heartbreaker to Bloomsburg on a punt return the week before. You know, they've got some young kids that they're playing, and they played really well and had a good plan. And I thought our guys, you know, for the most part, we did a good job of taking care of the football. You know, their decision was to not allow us to run the ball, but we still ran for over 100 yards. You know, we were efficient in the pass game. You know, we just kind of seemed to shoot ourselves in the foot at critical times that would have extended drives or put more points on the board. But at the end of the day, when we got on the bus with a 24-7 win, you know, we'll take it, and then we're moving on to the next.
I tell you what, Coach, at times it felt like it was a home game, so great job by the Cal faithful. Cal band was there, and there's a great scene at the end of the game where the band was playing at the end, and the team kind of went up and celebrated with the fans because it was a packed visiting side up in Edinboro. Like I said, we were in the press box, but at times it sounded like it was Adamson Stadium out there.
Yeah, it's great. Anytime our marching band and twirlers travel with us, I know our guys get a big kick out of it, and, you know, amazing what they did, and I find this out after the game. They drove up the day of the game. They were there the whole game. They left after the game, came back to California, had a performance, and then had to get up at 5 o'clock the next morning to go to another performance on Sunday. So hats off to the band and the twirlers and everybody for the effort they put in. And, you know, when we win, our guys want to go straight to the band. They don't even want to hear me talk anymore. So I just wave them over there. They go over there, have a good time, and then we talk afterwards. So, you know, appreciate those guys. And we've got great parent support, but we had some alumni there this week too. So it was great to have the Vulcan Nation on the road with us.
Yeah, it definitely was one of the greatest quotes on Saturday. We're tearing down, and Colin goes, they're with the band. I'm like, who is? The team. I look out, and they're like, it kind of gives you goosebumps because that's what, you know, college athletics and everything's all about. But enough of me and Coach talking about it. Let's look at some video from this past weekend's win at Edinboro, and then after the break, we're going to look at highlights from last year's Coal Bowl, which is the upcoming opponent for the Cal Vulcans. So stay tuned. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
Snap is down, hold from Tarrant is down, kick is up, and that one is good. So Cal U breaks the all zeros on the scoreboard here as they go up 3-0. It is, he's going to throw this one, feels the pressure, rolls out to the near side. He's got some room to run. He's still holding on to this one. He's going to throw it towards the end zone. It's going to be intercepted by California. They go the other way and brought down around the 10-yard line. Here's Mitchell, he's throwing to the outside. He's got his man. Touchdown, Vulcans. Cam Tarrant brings it in. Mitchell's got it, dropping back to throw. Surveys, goes to the outside. No, and he throws an interception there as the man shakes off one. Continuing there, and he's brought down at around the 20. That's number 9 for the Fighting Scots, Brandon Anderson. Costelli dropping back to throw. Surveys, he's going to roll to the near side. Throws one towards the end zone, and that one is caught. Touchdown, Fighting Scots. It'll be a handoff to the outside for Brown. Brown hurdles one, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, Vulcans. First and 10 from the Edinboro 10 here, so it's going to be pitch outside to Jackson. Jackson crosses the 10. He's going towards the end zone. Here he is, 10-5. Touchdown, Vulcans. Jaquay Jackson finds his way into the end zone.
never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Consider the future. Your future. At California University of Pennsylvania, you can build your life your way because we believe in you. We invest in you, empower you to create the future you envision. We give you the tools and teaching so you can rise up and achieve. Don't settle for someone else's vision of you. Build you at CalU. Visit us at calu.edu.
Brown gets the give yet again, right up the middle of the field, and gets into the end zone for a touchdown for the Vulcans. As Lenny Williams goes over the middle of the field, throws into the arms of Brendan Blair just like that. As he goes across the 45-yard line, staying on his feet, stiff arms one guy, gets across the 50-yard line. Mitchell looking back to throw, going left, over to Chad Livingston, into the end zone, gets 2 feet down, and a flag on the play. Nelson Brown makes a football move right into the end zone. High steps his way untouched for another California touchdown. Gets the give over to Nelson Brown, staying on his feet, pushing forward, gets across the 5, trying to get into the end zone, and we'll see what the call is, and it's into the end zone. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. Now an interception just like that. Lamont McFadden coming up with the interception, has open space in front of him. Adamson Stadium is his when it comes to turnovers. Marches right down the field, puts up the number 1 side.
They're going to get him with the Gatorade after he gets the hug. So how about that? The biggest upset in California history, knocking down the number 2 team in the country.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show. What you just saw here, or just saw there, was probably one of the loudest times Adamson Stadium has ever been. Me and Coach were talking about it. We're not sure if it was the loudest, but definitely the loudest was a Coal Bowl. You could probably say that, but anyway, because ever since it's been labeled as the Coal Bowl, the Cal IUP series has been known for very, very exciting games. And Coach, last year was no exception. That under the lights game where Long McFadden took one back 100 yards and got the win, and you saw the excitement on your face, and got to turn the page. Calendar's 2019.
Last year, this year is this year.
But as always, we talk about IUPs coming into this season. They're playing very well, and I know you've already started watching them on film yesterday and today. But what do they bring to the game offensively? What kind of sets do they run? And I know they're dynamic.
Yeah, they're playing really well right now. They're scoring, I think, 52 points a game. Rushing for, I think, 170 or so, and really probably the biggest difference this year than in the last couple of years is they're throwing the ball. They're throwing the ball a lot more than they have in the past. They're very effective at it. I think they have over 350 yards a game throwing the football. So very balanced offense. Got a lot of weapons. The running backs are back. They moved the running back to receiver that's got a bunch of touchdown catches. So we got to get to work. You know, they're very strong offensively and doing a really, really nice job, really well coached. You flip over to the defensive side of the ball and they run their stuff. You know, much hasn't changed from year to year. They believe in what they do. They've got a great scheme and coach it up well. Of course, their head coach has been was the defensive coordinator there for a number of years. So, you know, you've got to play assignment football. They're going to play some man coverage. They're going to mix up the coverages on you. They're going to play a four-man front for most of the night, shift a little bit, but they're, you know, very well coached and very talented team. So got a lot of guys back from you know, their playoff team 2 years ago, and a lot of guys from last year. So it's going to be a tough test going up there.
Now, going into this week, I mean, obviously, I know everyone says next game up, but I mean, obviously, everyone knows the IUP game's a little different. How do you, as a coaching staff, do you kind of like get that message to the players? You take it as just another game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this one doesn't count any more than the one last week or the one next week. It's you know, we've got to put the focus on us. We've got a lot of improvements to make in all three phases, and we really got to focus on California. Yeah, now our guys will watch film with them. We'll show them tendencies. We'll show them cut-ups and all that, but it's really the focus has got to be on us. We've got to make sure that we're taking care of our business and that we're playing assignment football and that we're doing the right things to give ourselves a chance against what they're doing. If we don't take care of ourselves, you know, what they do doesn't matter much. So, you know, it's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game, and next week's going to be the same thing.
Now, for you, Coach, you're one of the few players that can say, you know, played and coached in this game. What's it like playing this game as a player as opposed to playing it as a coach, if you think back to your playing days?
Yeah, you know, it was always a fun game to play when I was here playing. You know, grew up with some of the kids that played there, and we had some battles, and, you know, you'd talk all summer, and then you'd talk on the field. So it's a nice local rivalry game where, you know, a lot of their kids went to school with our kids. I know we've got, you know, guys that had high school teammates that are playing for them, and so you know, that's what I think, and I've said for the last couple of years is great about the PSAC. You know, Division I football has got away from Pitt doesn't play West Virginia anymore, and West Virginia's in the Big 12. Where the PSAC, we've been doing this for a lot of years against each other. So I think that's nice, but it's, you know, it's the next game, so we're going to go to work and be ready for it.
And that game is going to be 2 o'clock from Indiana, PA, and that's a nice about an hour and a half drive, so there's no excuse at all.
Zero excuse.
Zero excuse. Get in the car, get in a bus, get in a van, take a horse, ride a bike. However you can get there at IUP, 2 o'clock, cheer on the Vulcans. If you can't be there, I know that they're going to have the Vulcan Theater watch party once again from the CUTV Sports feed, and also you can watch along on YouTube, CUTV Sports 1 Live, or if you're in the car, 91.9 FM WCL. But before we put a bow on this, we got to do one last look around the PSAC, which I know is Coach's favorite part of the show with standings and rankings and all that stuff. So let's take a look at what happened this past week, the first weekend of crossover play. I see the score we talked about, Kyle. Edinboro and IUP over Mercier's 56-24. And that was a game that was close for a long period of time before IUP broke it open in the second half. Clarion goes down to 2-2, losing again at 51-35. Then Slippery Rock in Greensburg beats Seton Hill 55-14. And over in the PSAC East this past weekend, Westchester continuing on having a good start to their season. Shippensburg getting in the win column 30-15 over Bloomsburg. Kutztown and Shepherd playing their first ever PSAC divisional game. Gets a rude awakening, losing to Kutztown 27-24.
Kutztown went down and scored in the last minute. Sounds familiar.
and that's a heck of a first game for them for Shepherd to play in. And then East Stroudsburg having their way with Lock Haven 63-14. Now let's look at the standings after the first week. There's going to be a lot of 1-0s and 0-1s. See Cal, IUP, and Slippery Rock up top. So like I said, once again, there are numbers on the screen, and we're going to keep going on to the PSAC East. And East Stroudsburg continuing their somewhat surprising start. I don't know if anybody really saw them being 4-0. Kutztown and Westchester.
Really well. They beat a Division I FCS team, the NEC conference, and you know, new coach out there, got a lot of energy, a lot of confidence rolling their point. They're doing a nice job.
And so after they got a couple 4-0s, and then nobody without a loss in the PSAC East. And now that's last weekend. Let's look at the upcoming schedule for this week. A little bit different of a schedule this week because you have a Thursday night game. Shepherd traveling to Lock Haven. They kick off at 6 o'clock Thursday. And then the Coal Bowl 2 o'clock on Tuesday, 2 o'clock on Saturday. And then a couple noon games, 12:05 game 1 and 2. So by 2 o'clock Saturday, every game of the PSAC will have kicked off. And there's some, other than the Cal IUP game, there's some good games. The local Edinboro Gannon game, Sleepy Rock Mercer. So
Yeah, Slippery Rock, Mercyhurst. Mercyhurst played really well for a half there against Indiana, and then Indiana kind of rolled away with it. But Mercyhurst is a tough place to play. That's a tough place to play up there. So anxious to see that one.
and that's the schedule this week. So make sure you obviously tune in to the Cal IUP game Saturday. But the way the internet is, you can keep up on all the scores throughout the PSAC. And Coach and I were just talking about it. It's one heck of a conference if you're a football fan, because you got the local rivalries, you got players that play together growing up, and got fan bases that are within an hour and a half, 2 hours sometime. And Coach, any last thoughts to try and get a
Vulcan Nation, we need you this week up in Indiana. Going to be a big one because it's the next one. But I just saw down in there's a fan bus, a student fan bus going for free if students will sign up. I know the marching band's planning to go. I believe the cheerleaders are going. We'll have a bunch of alumni up there. So we need your help. Come on, join us on the road for a nice day at 2:00 at IUP.
Yeah, and definitely, Coach, you were saying bring them there, but just as a fan and someone that works the games, you get a little different feel, even for us, that if you have a good Cal presence, especially like I said, went Friday or Saturday, with the red and black in the stands at Edinboro, that makes a huge difference. You just kind of feel like pumped and energized, and it's a lot closer trip. Early weather reports looks like it's going to be another beautiful autumn afternoon in Western Pennsylvania. So, like I said, come out 2:00, take the fan bus, go to the info desk as soon as you see this, either on TV or online, and come out and root on the Vulcans. And of course, if you can't, for some reason you can't, you're out of the country, you can follow along on CTV Sports 1. We actually had a couple people chime in on the message board we had a couple people from Dallas, San Francisco, and Florida. So the Vulcan Nation really is truly becoming a Vulcan Nation. So everyone's.
I know I had a guy from California I talked to this week, and then a guy down in Atlanta, and a guy in New York. So we've got some states covered. And folks tuning in to CUTV to catch the action, which is awesome.
And if you chime in on the chat, Colin will converse with you during the game. So plenty of ways to keep track and be involved in Vulcan football. If not, CUTV Sports 1 on YouTube, 91.9 FM, or also keep track on calvulcans.com. Matt Kiefer, Alex King, and his staff, or their staff, do a great job. So, Coach, we'll see you Saturday afternoon in Indiana, PA.
Looking forward to it.
So for Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.